Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, and welcome to the Big 12 Insiders. Today, man, we got two new coaches in the Big 12 in football. Scott Frost going back to UCF in a place where I think a lot of people, and including Scott Frost, if you asked him, he probably should have never left. In my opinion, he should have never left. I understand the lure going home. I get that part of it, but he was having success, and obviously he didn't know what was coming down the pike for UCF, or I don't think he would have left. Having said all of that, he's back. Rich Rodriquez, on the other hand, going back to West Virginia, I mean, it ended bad. It ended ugly, but there's no denying the success that he had at West Virginia. Now, it's been 17 years since he's been there, so I don't know. A lot of things are different. A lot of things in college football. The landscape of college football is different. The one thing about Rich Rod is that he went to Michigan, and it was an absolute disaster. Got fired there, goes to Arizona. They have a little bit of success early. They go to a Fiesta Bowl, but things went downhill. But Arizona at the time, they just weren't necessarily committed to the resources that you need to play Power 5 at the time, Power 5 football, and he ended up getting fired there. So goes to Jacksonville State. They have a good program now, so he's going back. We'll see. I'm just not sure about that one. I'm not sure, but we're going to talk about all of that. So, again, before we get into it, I appreciate all of your support, man. We had a goal of 3,000 subscribers before the end of the football season, and we hit it. That's because of you guys, man. So I appreciate that. But don't stop there. Continue to like, follow, subscribe, get in those comments, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So let's get into this. First thing up, let's start with Scott Frost. Going back to UCF, and as I mentioned, obviously anybody with a crystal ball would, if you had one, you could see the future. It's easy to talk about that. And the whole cliche, hindsight is 2020. Scott Frost went back to Nebraska where he played. Earlier I mentioned he probably would have stayed. That's not true. That's not true at all. If you get an opportunity to go back and coach where you played, where you won a national championship, you're probably going to do that. Most people are going to do that. Now, some didn't, and some haven't in a multitude of sports. I understand. But for the most part, people are going to do that. Okay, I get it. I understand. But it didn't work out at Nebraska. Now, Nebraska's problems, they run a lot deeper than just the coaching staff. Nebraska's problems can't be fixed just with the new coach. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some wherewithal as far as Nebraska fans understanding where you're at in the pecking order. It's not just a quick fix with Nebraska. It's just not. But Scott Frost wasn't good there. They couldn't win close games. Then against good opponents, they were just absolutely getting blown out. It was a disaster there. And it was a disaster as far as the administration, too. Again, you get guys, athletic director, Trev Alberts, again, an All-American at Nebraska, won national championships at Nebraska. He hightails it as soon as he can, for Texas A&M. Like I mentioned, the problems at Nebraska were deeper than Scott Frost in the football program. Having said all of that, it wasn't good, and he got fired. And I mean, nobody, I'm not going to say deservingly so, but it wasn't good. If you want to have a good program, got to get good coaching. It just wasn't going great there for Scott Frost. But at UCF, it was. At UCF, ultra successful, builds the program. Again, I'm not sure he knew that they were going to be joining the Big 12, but me and Fitz have talked about this, and me and other, publishers that have come on, and we've talked about this. UCF is in a perfect position. A huge alumni base that love football. They are itching to get in the mix, because they felt like they were in the mix when Scott Frost was there. They've got that national title that they claim, and they felt like they were in the mix. Okay, I can get along with that. But things kind of fell apart when Scott Frost left, but now he's back. Okay, great. But he was recruiting well in Florida. He had built the program. They have a stadium. All of this stuff, UCF was on the come up. Well, now it's in the Big 12. If Scott Frost can tap back into, number one, those high school coaches that he had great relationships with, now he's not trying to convince those kids to go to Nebraska. He's trying to convince those kids, hey, just come to UCF, come to Orlando. A lot easier to do that when you're recruiting in Florida. A lot easier. Not to mention, you're playing big-time football now, where you weren't previously. Now you are. I think this is a home run hire for UCF. I really do. A lot of people don't like it, saying you can't come home. He didn't know what he had and he left, so they're not going to respect him. I don't believe any of that. People are adults, and when you have adults in the room, you understand. Sometimes you go and you take the best opportunity, just like the guy that works at UPS. If FedEx offers him a better position with more money, he takes it. It doesn't work out. If he gets an opportunity to go back to UPS, that's what happens. This is the same thing. Scott Frost had an opportunity that he felt like he couldn't pass up. Takes what he believed to be a better opportunity. And let's not kid ourselves. Nebraska, better job than UCF. At least at the time. I don't know if it is now. I don't know. But at the time, better job. Not anymore. Maybe. But for him, I think he gets there and he doesn't have to leave now. And I know he's talked about in the past about chasing the next job. Does he have to chase the next job now? What else do you want? You're in UCF. You're in Power 4 football. You're in the Big 12. You're in the state of Florida where the recruiting grounds are incredible. I mean, you can build those relationships back even if you burned a bridge or two. You can get them back. You've got the alumni base. You got the fan base that is screaming to have a winner. You have a ton of support. I think this is a home run hire for UCF. And Scott Frost is, let's just say he's lucky that he got this opportunity again, because it's one of those situations where you don't know what you have until you've lost it. And I think that was the case. Looking for the next job. Hey, man, you got a good job. It may not be the most high-profile job, but it's still a good job. But now he's back. I think UCF is ready to take off again. It may not be next year. I'm not saying that they're going to turn it around next year, but I think they'll be better. First of all, they can't be much worse because they were bad this past year. Let's not kid ourselves. UCF was bad this year. So they can get better quickly. And we'll see what they do in the transfer portal. Their recruiting class, not horrible. And again, all of that's not over. I think they got an opportunity again. I've said it all along. They're a sleeping giant. They're one of the two big sleeping giants in this. Well, actually three, if you count Houston, with Arizona State being the other one. I guess they're not so sleeping anymore, are they? But I like what UCF did here. I love this hire. I love it. I think it's a great hire. There's some other people out there that think that it's not. I think you're crazy. I think you're nuts. Scott Frost is a good football coach. It just didn't work out at Nebraska. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. I know, hey, the grass isn't always greener. I get it. All those cliches, they kind of apply here. But now he's able to go home. I think it's a big-time hire, not only for UCF, but maybe the Big 12 in general. Because if UCF can be better and get in that mix with Florida and Florida State and Miami, if they can get in that mix, it only raises the profile of the conference, and I think they have a huge opportunity to do that. Now let's go to Rich Rod at West Virginia. Look, as I mentioned before, I'm not sure anybody leaving a school when you don't get fired, it could be any worse than how Rich Rod left West Virginia. The main thing is he didn't get along with the president, and he signed an extension in August of that year saying he wasn't going to leave or he had this buyout, and then he leaves. He turns around and leaves. But that was a case where Rich Rod, it was always him looking for another job. His name came up in every job. Well, the only reason his name was coming up in every job, he had an agent. His agent's out there putting his name out there. Well, it's one of two things. Either you're trying to get your current school to give you a new contract for more money, which that's kind of your agent's job. Or two, you actually are looking for another job. Now, again, West Virginia at the time, Conference USA, Big East, wasn't Power 5 or Power 4 football. It just wasn't. That conference wasn't considered that. It wasn't the ACC or the Big 12 or SEC or Big 10, Pac-12. It wasn't that. They played good football. Let's not kid ourselves. They played really good football, but it just wasn't one of those conferences. So he looked for another job. Michigan, West Virginia fans, you can be mad at me if you want. Michigan is a better job. Period. End of story. And he takes it. Disaster. You thought Scott Frost was bad. Rich Rod, it was even worse. It was way worse. Just 3 and out. Just done. 3 years, Michigan said, get out, get out, get out, get out. Terrible hire. But again, as I say many times, Michigan is one of those places that heeds this rule. Hey, man, we made a mistake, but we're not going to compound that mistake by living in the mistake. You are fired. Get out. Then he goes to Arizona. Like I mentioned, had success early. They go to a Fiesta Bowl. They went to a Pac-12 championship. Things are going okay. But Arizona just wasn't committed to trying to win. They didn't put the resources. They didn't do enough as far as resources to be committed to winning football. They just weren't. And you could go all the way back to Mike Stoops, him saying that. You got to commit to this thing. Well, either way, it doesn't end good there. It ends up with a alleged sexual harassment suit. It was a nightmare ending again at Arizona. In 2017, he was out of there. Now him going back to West Virginia, look, after Jacksonville State, of course, and he made a couple of other stops like Hawaii, Ole Miss. But, going back to West Virginia, this one I'm not so sure. Because, first off, I think the big-time boosters at West Virginia, I think those people like Rich Rod. I think they're still committed to having Rich Rod around. They're like, you know what? We'll deal with it. With whatever he brings, we were winning football. So as long as we were winning football games, we'll deal with it. Then there's a faction of people that are like, that still don't like him. Don't like the way he left. Didn't like when he was there, how he carried himself, and what the staff did. That a lot of that stuff at Michigan that came out about how he was treating people and talking to people. Let's not kid ourselves and act like he wasn't doing that at West Virginia, but it got brushed aside at West Virginia because they were winning. Okay. West Virginia, they brushed it aside. He's winning. Michigan, you lose. It all comes out. Isn't it kind of always that way? Well, now, maybe he's changed. I don't know. I'm not sure about any of that. But going back home, the fan base is it's split on this one. Half of them are like, nope, the way you left, we don't want you back. The other half is, yeah, I know the way you left. You treated us like crap, but we won, so I'm willing to deal with it. So my question to West Virginia fans is, where do you side on this? What do you want to happen? Because, and I'll just give you my perspective, me personally, what I would think. Look, you all know I went to Kansas State. I'm a diehard Louisville fan. And at Louisville, we had to deal with a man called Bobby Petrino. And Bobby Petrino coached there twice. Both times that he coached there, after the first year, he was looking for another job. Both times. Immediately wanting to get a better job. First time, it was Auburn. Meeting at secret airports, didn't think anybody was going to find out. He was looking for another job immediately to get the Auburn job. Doesn't come, and then doesn't get it, comes back, apologizes, yada, yada, yada. Then he goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. Next time he comes back, immediately looking for another job again. I'm like, what is going on here? This guy. So that's kind of what Rich Rod was doing while he was at West Virginia. But I personally was okay with Petrino doing that because we were winning. And I'm like, look, I understand what my program is. I just want to win. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of my integrity, maybe, to win. So West Virginia fans, are you willing to do that? Because now here's the difference. Rich Rod is not going to be looking for another job this time. He's not going to get the West Virginia job and then 3 years down the road say, you know what, his name popping up in other jobs. I don't anticipate that happening. First of all, he's a little older. I think he's at West Virginia until either you get rid of him or he retires, whichever one happens first. So that would be the difference. So for me, I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of integrity to win. But that's me. I don't know where you guys stand on that. Are you willing to sacrifice some integrity to win? You know, and I'm not talking about criminal type of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. You know, so when I say integrity, maybe the coach isn't the best human being. Maybe he treats people a little bit bad. Again, not doing anything criminal. That's not what I'm talking about because I have no patience for any of that, especially when you're supposed to be molding young men. But yeah, I was willing to deal with it. I think West Virginia as a whole will probably be willing to deal with it. And here's the reason why. West Virginia fans are proud people, very proud people. And while you've had some success in basketball, especially under Bob Huggins, that's a football school. They want to be good in football. So, and they haven't had the success that they thought. Last year was fool's gold. Last year was, and when I say last year, 2023, that was fool's gold. And I think we all know it. And I think real West Virginia fans will admit it. The schedule was easier. You caught it. You went out and won the games. But this year, things were different. And there's a lot of West Virginia fans that have, sent emails and texts and responded in comments saying they should have got rid of Neil Brown last year. We knew it was fool's gold. I mean, maybe. But now this is where you are. I don't know if I necessarily like the Rich Rod coming back, but if he can recruit and in this day and age, if he can get back and start building the relationships and get the guys there to go win, then it won't matter what I think. It won't matter what anybody thinks. But I'm not sure that I like this one. I thought West Virginia could do better. I really did. I thought they could do better. I thought there's other guys out there, other minds out there, whether it's offense or defensive young minds out there that would have done West Virginia better than bringing back technically a retread and bringing him back in the fold. Now, I'm not saying that Rich Rod is not a good football coach because I think he is. I really do believe that he's a good football coach. But I just thought, you know what? This is a perfect time for West Virginia to have a full reset, okay? And maybe you didn't offer enough. I know they talked about the offensive coordinator from Penn State. I can never really pronounce his name right, so I don't want to throw his name out there. So maybe they thought, and I know he said, well, I'm committed to Penn State. Well, if the money was right, you'd have been committed to West Virginia, so stop the nonsense. So maybe it wasn't. And I just thought there were other names out there that West Virginia could have done. So for me, again, I'm not on the retread hires. I don't like it in the NFL, the NBA, college I don't like the retread hires of guys. Now, he didn't get fired at Jacksonville State, so it's not one of those where, why are you hiring this guy because he just got fired somewhere else? So it's not that. But it's been a minute since he's been the head of a Power 4 program. Things have changed a lot in that time. But maybe this will be good for West Virginia. Because you know me, I root for all teams. I don't want anybody to be bad. I mean, I cover this channel. I cover this conference. I want everybody to be good. I know that's not possible, but that's what I'm rooting for. But I'll go against, maybe my own wisdom and say I don't like the hire. I just think there were other things. Scott Frost, on the other hand, I know what you're saying. Well, Big B, you're being a hypocrite. You just said you don't want retreads. Scott Frost, I just think is different. I think everything about that situation is totally different because I think Scott Frost, deep down, I don't know that he wanted to leave UCF, but he felt like he had to because of the pull and the ties that he had to Nebraska, and they needed help. And he didn't like seeing his school struggle, and he thought he could go and fix it. So the situation is not the same. And for Scott Frost, his thinking, okay, I got to go help save my school. But I would venture to say if you ask him now, he's like, UCF is my school, and I should have never left. I don't know that Rich Rod, if you asked him that, I don't think he would say that. Matter of fact, I know he wouldn't say that he shouldn't have left to take the Michigan job. He would never say that, you know. And you could say, well, hindsight 2020, I got fired after 3 years. Of course I'd have stayed at West Virginia. He'd be lying if he said that because the man was looking for jobs all over the place. Scott Frost wasn't doing that. He took a job. He got pulled home, but he didn't necessarily want to leave. He felt like he had to. Rich Rod, on the other hand, yeah, as soon as I can get a job at a better place, I'm going. And that's what he did. So the situations are totally, totally different. I like the UCF hire. I don't like the Rich Rod hire. I'm rooting for both. Don't get me wrong. I want both to win. I'm just not sure it will. So for West Virginia fans' sake, and you guys have been really active on this channel, I hope it works out. I really, really hope it works out because you guys are passionate. You deserve to have a good football program again. A winning program. It's not that you don't have a good one, but a winning football program. You guys deserve that. You guys get in here passionate, knowledgeable. But I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. That's all I have for you guys today, man. I appreciate everybody joining. And again, getting in that comment section and letting us know exactly how you feel. Please do the same. We appreciate everything and all the support you guys have given us. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do our bowl predictions, me and Fitz, on all the Big 12 teams that qualify for a bowl. We'll break all those down. We'll get into that, who's winning, who's not, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys. Love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.